This podcast may contain adult language, adult situations, spoilers, and some brief nudity, so parental guidance is suggested.
We have such sights to show you.
After about 5 minutes of this movie, you're gonna wish you had 10 beers.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
So, what would you little maniacs like to do first?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Oh, well. La-di-da, la-di-da, la-la, yeah.
Welcome back to the Cinema Recall Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Recall Podcast. I am one of your hosts, the Vern. Ashley Urach could not make this episode, as I will explain later. But right now, I have someone here that is just as beautiful and sexy as she is. I've got Jim from the Film Rich Podcast. Hello, Jim.
Hey, Vern. How are you?
I feel like it's my birthday right now, and you're like Marilyn Monroe, Cinder Kennedy.
I tried to sound even half as sexy
as
Ashley, so,
See?
you know.
Hey.
And it still didn't come close.
You did pretty good, actually, all right? You
felt some movement in the force?
I very much so. Well, welcome back to the show, man. Listeners may recognize Jim from our Dawn of the Dead episode that we recorded several moons ago, but thank you for coming back.
Oh, man. This is one of the best days of my life. Anytime I get a chance to talk with you about film is like a great day.
Yes. Thank you so much. And yeah, please check out the Film Rage podcast with Jim, Bryce, and Murray, just three wonderful gents. And I love hearing your conversations on movies. And even though I may not agree with all your views on movies, I just still love your conversations, and it makes me want to appreciate movies in a different light. Like your review of The Whale made me want to go revisit that one again.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks.
You know, because hey, sometimes we see a movie, and even if some things don't connect with you, you listen to a review that goes, hey, you know what? I just never saw that aspect of it before. I will go check it out again. And who knows?
Yeah, it's funny, right? Like, film for me, you know, I know you watch a significant amount of film also. Like, there's people who their life is film, right? And, you know, so many external factors can affect how much you see and feel from a film. So it's funny, a friend of mine, who's actually a supporter of our podcast, Philip, him and I had a conversation actually just on the weekend watching a film that we recently reviewed. So Megan, or M3 Gan, and he had mentioned that he's always prepared for the movie he's about to see. And I thought that was an interesting comment, because I never prepare myself for the movie I'm about to see. I always go the way I go, and then I let the film be absorbed in whatever state of mind I'm in. So, you know, like, let's say I got a divorce and then went right to see Kramer versus Kramer. It might be a different type of film. Or,
sure.
You know, let's say I was in a car crash that very morning, and then that night I watched Drive or Crash, right? It's like...
Yeah, that's true. You
right?
kind of... You put a lot of your own, personal, I guess, insights into seeing a movie when you watch it, because you want to investigate in the characters for that. Yeah, I totally agree. I do that sometimes. Other times I'm looking at as me being the character. Sometimes I'm looking at, especially with the movie that we're reviewing, I'm looking at as an outside character, like someone kind of watching these characters interact. I do the same thing with like early Neil LaBute movies, where you're kind of like watching these characters interact, like, oh, I'm not part of these characters. Or a lot of, like, you know, like John Waters movies.
Oh, I love John Waters.
I do too. Like, but his extended group of characters, it's like, am I part of that film? Although if Sis would be demented, yeah, I will be part of that horny crew right there who could not
What about Dirty
release.
Shame?
Oh, Dirty Shame, yeah, that too. Oh, I haven't seen Dirty Shame in like years now. Oh gosh, that's another one I try to find because I don't think that most, and we're going to get into the conversation too because Crash is rated NC-17 and it's not easy to find. That's one of the reasons why Ashley, our co-host, could not make this episode because she doesn't have a DVD or Blu-ray player, so there's no way for her to actually watch this movie. And I try to look online, especially here in the States. I can't find any streaming centers that have this movie available for rental. And so I didn't ask her to be on the show just because there was no way for her to have access to this movie. So, sorry.
Is she afraid to come to your house? Is there a fear?
Oh no,
that she can't?
it's not that. Also, too, she lives like very far away. For me, and with her job and taking care of her kids, it's just really difficult to try to plan a time to come over to watch a movie and things. And so, yeah. And plus, I have other roommates here too, so it's just But I think Crash is one of those movies you kind of like want to watch, kind of by yourself. And plus, this isn't a movie that I want to have like friends of mine watch with me. I know it's kind of a weird thing.
What?
I know, right? But it's not that. But I think if you're at home, you gotta either be by yourself or maybe in a theater. Like if Crash comes to theaters, I will take Ashley to see the movie because you're kind of stuck there in a theater and you have to like watch it. You can't really be distracted by anything else. So I would probably do that. So.
Yeah, I definitely would. Well, no, I see. This is where you and I, as much as I, like, it's funny because you make mention that, don't necessarily agree. There's a lot of things that we have very similar tastes on. Like, I know the content of movies that you're watching from the old times. Those are all the films, like the fact that two random people could be huge John Waters fans, Dawn of the Dead fans. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
There's a bunch of stuff that you and I just connect on so deeply.
Oh.
But it's funny. My belief is that I try to push, like I am kind of like a persona in John Waters film, because I'd like to push people always in every discussion I have, in every interaction that I come with, in every film that I get people to watch, to stretch the boundaries of who they are as a person. And sometimes, and I just love to observe it. Like I'm one of those people that just love to observe human car crash, and I don't mean that. I kind of mean that more metaphorically, but it's like people need to sometimes be pushed outside their boundaries because everybody sort of walks around the earth living inside this box, and I think that's a significant reason why there's a lot of strife and anger and war and just misgivings between people, because if you can try and relate to somebody on whatever level that they're coming from, it's so much easier to be able to interact with them, if you know what I mean. Sure.
Yeah, because you want to try to see things from their perspectives. I know that you and I have like a lot of similar lights, and especially when it comes to movies and whatnot. Crash is a movie that I've known Ashley for like over like 20 years, and I know the first thing that she'll say after the movie's done, like, Vern, that was weird. That was a weird-ass movie, Vern. Why the hell did you have me watch that? That was the most really fucked up, weird thing, all right? Like, I know you're some kinky shit, Vern, but come on now. I'm like, yeah, all right, that's fair. Like, I still need to have her watch, like, Titan, because she just knows about the girl having sex with the car, and that's all she knows about the movie. I'm like, no, the movie goes into much more detail. That's just, like, a small little nugget. It's not even a big, long scene that happens. Everything about Titan happens after that moment. So yeah, I'm sure. I think we'll probably have her do like maybe reaction watching videos to like strange cult movies.
Well, that's kind of like our boy Murray, right? Like Bryce and I come from a space of weird.
Yeah.
Both from sort of different, because I'm a little older than Bryce, but I come from that John Waters era, and Bryce comes more from the horror side of it. Like I'm still a big horror fan, as I know you are. But it's funny because I was always more into alternative cinema because I was involved in the film industry to a lesser degree. So it kind of puts you in that more independent mindset. Whereas Bryce came from a space, he absorbs as many films as I do in a year, which is significant. But yeah, he comes from a different place there. But Murray comes from a place, he's a passionate film lover, but we call him the everyman. Like he is that guy walking down the street that it's like, if it's mainstream and it's for dudes, Murray's gonna love it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So half the time when we push Murray to see movies, it's sometimes just to see how he's affected by it. And I gotta admit, since we've been kind of pushing him to watch some pretty weird content, he's actually grown a little bit as a person. So I feel kind of accomplished. Yeah.
It's always good to make people grow and whatnot. Now, before we get into our conversation about David Cronenberg's Crash, this is an important question I asked all my guests. What is the very first David Cronenberg film you saw?
I think it's got to be it's either got to be Scanners or The Brood. It's got to be one or those two.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember when The Brood came out.
Brood was like 79.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it was The Brood.
Okay.
Because I had a friend of mine, like my best friend in sort of junior high, entering high school. We were huge horror fans at the time, and we used to get Fangoria and the whole because the horror comics and everything of the late 70s. And I remember the episode that we got, I think it was Fangoria, because there was another magazine that also came out that was also about horror, and I saw the whole special effects and body horror that Cronenberg does so well, and I was just like, this is the most incredible thing that I've ever seen in my life. Like, I thought to myself, I have to see this movie. I have to absolutely see this movie. And so we worked really hard to get to see it, and we finally got to see it. So yeah, I'm pretty positive it was The Brood, because Scanners comes like out a couple of years later.
Yeah, like 81.
Yeah.
I know that was like,
and that one.
That was probably his first like big popular one that he did. Before The Fly and whatnot. The Brood I did not get to see until many years later, and that was quite the head trip. I mean, you talked about Kramer versus Kramer.
Yeah.
Earlier.
Yeah, this is Cronenberg's version of Kramer versus Kramer.
Very much so.
It's still my favorite Cronenberg film.
It's incredible.
It's just like the kids that are in it, the body horror with her when she's giving birth to the world.
Well, it's not giving. I'm trying to stay from spoilers for this one, but if you don't know about The Brood, it's about this woman's anger and rage manifests into these child killers, these children who are killers in a way. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, it's a pretty good summation of it for sure. Yeah, and in my opinion, it's one of the, he picks character actors that are beyond amazing. Like, Oliver Reed in that is just so brilliant. So brilliant.
I think that's the other Criterion edition that I will pick up here soon will be The Brood, because that was actually quite the cool thing. If they made up a 4K version of that, I will definitely pick that up. All right.
Yeah.
We're going to take just a quick break. I'm going to play some ad spots from some amazing podcast shows, and we will be back.
We got to take a short break, but Cinema Recall will be right back after these ad spots.
Hello again, me popsicles, and welcome to Season 2 of Science Fiction Remnant.
Go ahead and grab your multipass, a drink, and sit back with us and geek out about sci-fi.
Let's pick each other's brain. We want you to be part of our intimate conversation about science fiction topics.
And hang around to the end of the episodes for the real-world science that was inspired by your favorite science fiction.
Let's do this. Let's talk about science fiction topics in books, movies, TV shows, and games.
At Science Fiction Remnant, you are invited to listen in.
Listen now on Apple Podcasts,
Spotify, Anchor,
Audible, GoodPods,
or whatever you listen to podcasts.
You can catch the video pods on our YouTube a month later.
and don't forget your multipass, you me popsicles.
Science Fiction Remnant is brought to you by the hashtag This Is Sci-Fi. No Captain Cuties were harmed in the making of this commercial. Ba-ba-ba-ba.
Hi everyone, this is Tim Costa.
I'm Hermano da Silva.
And this is Walter Vinci.
And together we are the First Time Watchers podcast.
Each week we choose a movie to review that none of us has seen.
Watch it together.
And then discuss.
These movies could be new.
Or old.
Or on our list of shame.
You can find us on iTunes by searching for the First Time Watchers podcast.
As well as on Stitcher.
And we love interacting with our listeners, so if you have any suggestions, send us a tweet.
An email.
Or post to our Facebook page.
We'd love to hear from you.
That's right. I mean, it's all about interaction.
And talk about what we love, movies.
And you don't have to worry about us going on and on about this and that and the other. And let's talk about this minutiae here.
Shut up.
And I wonder who the gaffing was.
God damn it, shut up!
I think that's enough, Walter.
Oh my God.
Go by during the credits.
Hi again, everybody. Sim Recall back here with Jim of the Film Rage Podcast. Did I lose you?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I love how every time you're like, I'm just listening intently to every word you say. And you're like, oh my God, he's left me for another podcast.
I just thought of that too. All right, you clicked on the link. Our show this week is David Cronenberg's Crash.
Beyond pleasure. Beyond pain. Beyond obsession.
It's something we are all intimately involved in.
Lies the rapture and the rage of Crash. Alliance Releasing invites you to fasten your seatbelt.
You coming?
Crash.
Jim, where have you seen this movie before?
Where? I saw it when it came out in cinemas.
You saw some... Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Let's...
absolutely. Opening night, I saw this in cinemas.
Okay, so you watched it because you're a major Cronenberg fan. Now, I know that this movie, it had a special award at Cannes because I remember the trailers for this movie when it came out. And they had to invent like some sort of category because, let's be honest, this probably would have won the Palme d'Or. I just know that Francis Ford Coppola, who was I guess he was one of the like main judges for the Cannes Film Festival.
Yep.
He didn't like the movie that much and tried many different tactics to not have it win.
Yep.
So I guess every other voter liked the movie. So, and I actually had to look this up here.
For originality, for daring, and audacity.
Yeah. I don't even know where to really begin with this movie. Because I know the first time I watched it, I remember renting it on video cassette. And during the time of the late 90s and NC-17 movies, I'm thinking, alright, well, I'm going to see some hardcore sex. Same thing with Showgirls, too. I'm like, alright, I'm going to see just a lot of, like, this is going to be near X-rated. I'm like, sweet, I'm actually going to see, like, a bunch of, like, penetration and scenes like that. And that's...
So you're thinking you're getting porn, but then you got Cronenberg instead.
I got Cronenberg instead, yes. And I was not expecting anything like I was seeing before. So I know the first time I watched this movie, I did not quite understand it. Because listeners out there who don't know what Crash is about, I'm going to do my best to kind of give you a short little description of it. It's about this couple played by James Spader and Deborah Kara Unger, and they like to, I guess, hear stories of each other having sex, and they are just trying to do more with their sex life. Like, sex between these two is just not doing it enough. So much so that they have to describe having sex with other people to each other. And then one night while driving, James Spader's character gets into a car accident with Holly Hunter, and her husband dies. But in that moment, they're in the car. She rips open her blouse and shows her titties, and then he's in the hospital. He meets a guy named Vaughn, played by Mr. Casey Jones himself, Elias Cortez. Sorry, I'm calling him Casey Jones.
Yeah, I always thought his name was pronounced Elias Koteas, but
Koteas, thank you. You're probably right. Koteas, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I can barely speak English, like.
But he's involved with Elias Koteas, and he has this group of fetish seekers, thrill seekers, including Rosanna Arquette, and they are this group of people that get really turned on with car crashes. And I know Vaughn likes to reenact famous car crashes of celebrities, and James Spader's character, James Ballard, which is ironically the same name of the author of this book, J.G. Ballard, he gets more and more involved with this group, and he tries to get his girlfriend, played by Deborah Kara Unger, involved in these wild scenarios. And it's a movie where the sex scenes are a part of the plot. Like, each sex scene that happens builds on the characters. Like, the characters' motivations, the character development happens throughout the sex scenes. And I remember, like, listening to a section from the commentary that David Cronenberg had, and he was mentioning that, in most sex scenes that happen in movies, it's like a separate thing from the story. But in Crash, it's an important part of the story. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, Jim.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, the human body is kind of crashed, for lack of a better word, into the entire format of this film. Like, you can't separate the car crashes, the sex, the human body comparably to the actual bodies of cars. It's just all part of this one theme. And on top of that, that there's not a ton of dialogue in this when you think about it. Like, if you think of the amount of scenes that are just visual in this film, it's probably quite significant compared to the amount of time they're actually talking.
I noticed that when I watch it for the first time, and a lot of viewers who watch it for the first time, they're going to notice that all the dialogue in the movie seems to be kind of like cold and distant. I know I wrote this in an earlier review of this movie. I mentioned that the characters behave somewhat like robots.
A trainee radiologist. Then the service manager at my garage.
You had sex with all those men in cars? Only in cars?
Yes, I didn't plan it that way.
Like,
yeah, well, I think I think it's because they're all so damaged, right? Like, they're all kind of living inside their own heads, and the car crashes, the scene where Holly Hunter, is it okay that I say this now?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's the scene where they're all kind of back at Elias Koteas, Vaughn's character's house or condo or whatever.
Sure.
And they're watching videos of car crashes, and they're having problems because the tape player's having issues. And to me, this kind of sums up kind of the character development of all of them in this, because Holly Hunter's character, she's sitting there watching it, and she's just like so anxiety ridden because she didn't get to see the crash of this specific scene, and so it was like she couldn't get past it. Like her life couldn't move forward until she was able to see that crash, and then of course through that process of her getting to see the film as it was, and they were all sort of being supportive of her. And Rosanna Arquette's character kind of goes, like, it's okay, we can watch another one. But like she just, as the film was able to open up and allow her to interact with the visuals and the atmosphere of that crash, she moved from releasing her rage and just and softly kind of falling back into the couch, where she started to, basically masturbate the two people beside her. Like it was just one of those scenes in the film that I was just like, there's so many scenes in this that when you watch it, and again, if you just watch it one piece at a time, it's not, you're not going to really get to really feel the entire, like it's right up until the very end, which I won't spoil that for anybody, but right up to the very end where James Spader's comment to his wife, it's like, okay, like you go on this journey, and then you're like, okay, so this is the ultimate goal, right? Like, and you can feel it through like this movie. Every time I watch it, I see something more and new, and it again. I like to see films that change me as a person. This film changed me yet again every time I see it.
100%. Like I said before, I know the first time I watch this movie, I'm looking at like, all right, well, I'm gonna see these characters get into some like really kinky sets involving cars, like people having sets on top of cars. I expect like maybe a car chase.
Yeah.
With people kind of like fucking on the cars and stuff right there, but that's not at all what happened. And also, I try to put myself into the lead character's shoes. So I'm watching it. I'm like being James Spader, and I actually have been in a few car accidents before, and I know that when I had my first serious car accident, I watched this again, and I'm thinking, you know what? When I got hit by a car, I did not feel any sexual excitement. But then again, these characters, especially Deborah Kerr Unger and James Spader's characters, you have to understand, at the start of the movie, they're kind of like bored by sex. Like,
yeah, they're motivated. They're motivated to grow and change. And like you say, they're bored with sex. They're bored almost like with each other.
Yeah, and
right.
I think this crash that happens gets them more involved with each other, and they're able to like connect more than they were before.
And he's like, he's been through an experience that she hasn't been. Like it's almost like their relationship is they're both wanting to have the same experience. It's like there's a couple times where they're having sex. I think one of the scenes, and she turns to him and she says, "Well, did you come, or did she come?" Mm-hmm. Right? Like it was like they want to make sure they've both experienced the same things, because they bring it back to their relationship and their own sex, and they're completely driven by sex. Their motivations, their drive, everything is based on sex. So it kind of goes to their evolution that, okay, it kind of makes sense, right? And maybe to your point about, like, I've been in a few major car crashes too in my life, and it's not that moment of the car crash itself. There's still a moment when that happens, that something happens to you that changes you again, right? And depending on where your motivations are, it's kind of like, origin stories of superheroes, mm-hmm. right? It's like, if like Spider-Man gets bitten by a spider, and so he becomes more of a spider, right? So they're motivated by sex. So the car crash kind of evolved because that's who they are as a core and how they're motivated. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, they're more like motivated. They're able to like, grow a little bit more because during especially after they meet Vaughn, there's a sequence when both characters are having sex in bed, and she's asking him to talk about Vaughn and
Yeah.
want to know about his body parts and, how would you have sex with him? And I have a feeling that, this couple, have tried other things before with either sex. And
Yeah.
and even that didn't seem to make them grow anymore. Like, I'm pretty sure they were like this couple, they've tried everything under the sun. They went to swingers clubs too. They even tried having sex with, the same sex, her with another woman, and I'm sure him with another man. So I'm sure they've tried all these different like fetishes and kinks and everything under the sun, to the point where it just becomes kind of like numb and void. And when this crash happens, they were able to find other people who have the like minds of theirs, especially, with the Holly Hunter character and the Roseanne Arquette character as well. And they're able to find like a family, because when you have a significant partner, who has, fantasies like that, that's great. But if you can find a whole community and people that you can talk to about it, I mean, that becomes a much more bigger thing, because then they have a family. And even though this family unit may not work for a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot of people who watch this movie will say that it's disturbing and it's not healthy, everything all these characters do are in consent of each other. All the sex that happens between these adults, it's consent. No one is forcing their power on anyone else. And they hone their own sexuality, which I think is great, especially when it comes to the Roseanne Arquette character, who is disabled. She's physically disabled, but yet she has such a strong sense of her sexuality that is just absolutely great, especially that sequence when they're at the car shop.
Oh God, that scene.
And the car dealer, and she's going to the car, she's like, I'm stuck. And she knows exactly what she's doing. I mean, she's totally taking advantage of that situation there too. And she loves the power dynamic, because most of the time when you see people who are disabled, you think you have power over them.
Oh yeah.
But in that sequence,
role reversal. Oh yeah, totally.
Complete role reversal right there. I just thought that was absolutely great, that she does take control of that guy, and I think the guy knows that he's getting taken control, but he enjoys it a little bit, and yeah, which is my dude, because I am also a sub as well. So yes, I would just, and come on now, being dominated by Roseanne Arquette, fuck yes, any time. Any day, yes. She could wear those, that laid brace, and she could have that scar in her leg too, and ask me to fuck that. Yes, yeah. So there's a sequence where Gene Spader's character does fuck a scar in Rosanna Arquette's leg, and I know that during the commentary, David Cronenberg was talking to a film critic who watched the movie, and the film critic's like, "It's kind of funny how you made me believe that he was having sex with her open wound, but it actually wasn't." And Cronenberg's like, I think you better go back and watch the movie, because that's what happens. And he's like, oh my God, it is. I just didn't want to believe that it was actually happening, because that...
Yeah, I mean, that every scene with every individual character, they have all such distinct personalities and power. I guess that's maybe a good way to choose it. Roseanne Arquette's character is beyond powerful with what she knows she has and carries around, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then even so, I mean, I think James Spader is supposed to kind of represent every character, or like Avatar, or like what do you call that in movies where the main character is supposed to represent the audience?
Yeah. I forget what that term is, but yeah, I would say a little bit for sure, because we're kind of seeing the film through his eyes more than anything else. Although us as the characters, because we don't carry around that, maybe, well, some of us might carry around that level of kink that that they have as their motivator and their driver of sex, that it's still filtered through James Spader's James Ballard's whole introduction and vision into this new world that he can't get enough of.
Yeah. Oh,
I thought it was interesting. The tagline for this film when it came out was the most controversial film you will ever see.
And I guess I could see the whole controversial film angle just because I'm sure a lot of people, when they hear about this movie, they are just going to get into their mindset that this is the movie about people who get into car crashes and then just want to fuck. And that's all the movie is, just car crash and then sex. Car crash, sex. Crashing while fucking. Crashing amongst fucking. Cars fucking each other while people crash. And that's just going to be the thing here, all right? Like Transformer level. Like the cars are going to transform and grow dick and vaginas and, and dick and anuses and just start fucking and whatnot. And that's all it's
like
going to be.
Transformers.
It's like Cars.
The movies. Yeah, Cars.
It's like Pixar's Cars that are fucking. That's all it is. All right.
the dirty version of Cars.
That's all it's going to be. Don't put it past that. That will probably, I'm pretty sure they'll make a version of that soon. But it's more of like a story about a couple who were not meant. It was about a married couple who were going further and further apart. Because I mentioned before in the movie, when it starts, she is having sex with another guy at an air carrier, an airfield. And he's having sex with one of his editors on this. He actually, James Spader's character works as a director for like these car commercials, these car ads. And he's having sex with one of his editors. And they're describing to each other having sex with other people. So there are a couple that's coming further and further apart.
See, I don't know if I agree with
they're
you
coming
on that
together,
one.
but they're coming together as a couple as the movie progresses.
Yes, so that's where I don't know if I agree with. I somewhat agree with the fact that I think it does bring them closer together. But this is fully intentional. They do this because I think they are looking for something, right? But I think their love is pretty deep through this whole film. Like they just know that they need to stretch their boundaries. Eventually, they're gonna, get into. If they didn't make it into Crash, they were gonna make it into Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, right? Like,
yes.
they just haven't found their kink yet, and they're happy about that. Like they allow themselves to live in an open relationship, to be able to bring the best of what they find outside back into their own relationship.
Oh, okay.
I never took it. Yeah, I never took it that way that they weren't connected.
Oh.
I took it as they were very connected.
That's a fair analogy of that too. I felt for me like watching it that they didn't feel like they were like communicating more with each other, but maybe they were because they have a very open relationship, and I know a lot of people who have open relationships where they can be with other people and still come together, and they're like the main unit right there. So yes, I will agree on that. It's just sort of like I never said that it was bad that they're having sex with other people, but I thought throughout the course of this movie they were able to like find like one thing that they can sort of like latch onto and
I think they just
connect
on a
with
journey.
that.
I think they're just on a journey together.
Sure.
Right? That's why I took it.
And I'm pretty sure that, after this thing is, done, they'll probably come on to another thing. They may want to have sets jumping out of airplanes or...
Well, I mean, that takes you to the sort of the last line in the film, right? Where it's like, this is going to take it to the end for them. They're not going to have to find something else.
Do you think that they are... Because everyone always says that, I guess... when you die, that's also kind of a big rush, the big orgasm, the big O.
Orgasm. Yeah, the big O. Yeah, sure. I think that's what they're both trying to achieve now, right? It's like it's. Are we okay to? I mean, this movie is 1990s,
we can,
right? It's
we can
spoil the shit out of it. Yeah,
well,
so
I don't think the last line doesn't really spoil anything, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just it's a super tasty cherry on the top of this motherfucking cake, right? Like it's
like the last line in Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah, it's I forget the direct quote.
I do remember. It's
okay, attaboy.
He says to her, "Maybe the next one."
Yeah. So it's like she literally just has a car crash. She's scarred up. She's looks like she's dead on the side of the road, and of course they have to have sex because she just crashed. But yeah, it's like it ends with that note that we're gonna get there together, and it's just like true love. We're just like, oh, it's not the happiest. I don't like romance stories very much, but this is my romance story.
Oh, 100%. And I like the fact, too, that each character, both James and Deborah Carpenter's character, which I cannot remember for the life of me, what the hell? I had to look
for Catherine Ballard.
Catherine.
James Ballard, yeah.
James Ballard. I do like the fact, too, that even James and Vaughn get together in some scenes. And I think their sequences together are pretty great, especially the moment when Vaughn picks up a prostitute and drives around. And also the sequence, too, where both Vaughn and Catherine have sex in a car wash while James drives.
That scene, that scene is probably the most erotic scene in any movie ever. The fact of the metaphors and looking at how the car wash cleaning this car is like cleaning her soul. It's just so amazing. Like
the way the car's like entering the car wash, kind of like very much metaphor over
the brushes of the car wash, just and the dripping, oozing soap as it
the
goes
wetness of it and everything. Yeah,
it's insane.
It's like I swear, like right when the car is like kind of going through the brushes, that's when Vaughn inserts his fingers into her pussy.
Yeah, it's just like everything on that. I don't know how how Cronenberg has this ability to always create the perfect shot from every single scene. Like, how did he, he must have storyboarded the shit out of this. He must have went through that car wash 1,000 times before he had every shot edited the way it was. Like, it was just...
There are like a lot of like great sequences. You mentioned before when they were in Vaughn's house and the shot of all of them grabbing each other's junk.
Yeah.
On the chair. I love the shot of her hand coming up on the car seat after the car wash set scene, and her hands are filled with his jism.
Yes, and she wipes it on the car, because that was her thing, too, when they were having sex prior. She was like, I bet you that car smells like semen. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, it does.
Yeah.
And so she was just marking her territory, right? Like, it was like, yeah, I've been here.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's funny that, like, Holly Hunter, in particular, that she's even... Her. Yeah, the fact that she's in this film, she begged Cronenberg to be in one of his films. Like, and I don't know where she fell in love with Cronenberg, but she begged him to be in one of his films, and he says, "Okay, well, if you like." I almost see Cronenberg as this like devil's advocate of everything that's ever happened anywhere, and it's like Holly Hunter, who we think of the movies she's made. So before this, she was in a movie called Home for the Holidays. Like
that's
a PG,
yes,
a PG-rated movie. She goes from that to probably her first nude scene in her entire life.
Not only that, too, but you gotta remember her from like Raised in Arizona.
Yes.
And then she won the Oscar for The Piano.
Yes.
Prior to this,
she's in like mainstream stuff. Like how she went from like The Girl Next Door. Always, like, she's in these movies that you're like, she's like the girl next door, Miss Purity.
She's your mom.
And then so she begs Cronenberg to be in his films, and what does he do? He puts her in Crash, and the first movie that she's ever had a nude scene in. But his perception, like, every single shot, I read somewhere about this, that every single nude scene that he did for this movie, he would show the dailies to each cast, and he would say he wanted them to make sure that they were perfectly comfortable with the looks of their body and how it was every day. So it was like they were in complete buy-in the entire process, and they were all in for it.
I know that, I've read or saw interviews said that Holly Hunter got the script for Crash and wanted to be part of it right away because she just wanted to work, like you said before, she wanted to work with Cronenberg for so long. And what makes Crash different from other movies that do have sexuality and nudity in it is that these are, intelligent writers and actors and characters be involved with this. It's not just showing tits and ass for no other purpose besides just showing tits and ass. There's a purpose of showing the nudity, and it's never gratuitous. And I know when I first watched this movie at a young age of 17, 18 years old, I was watching it just because I want to see some tits and ass. I was like, well, yeah, bring it on, baby. All right, yeah, I'll see Holly Hunter naked and Roseanne Arquette, and bring that all on. But watching now more like adult eyes and whatnot, there is more something else there. There is the characters trying to improve their station in life a little bit, and they have a fetish that they just want to grow with and see. And I'm not quite sure. I think it is maybe the thrill of the anticipation of the crash that turns these characters on, and just having just something that's like outside of yourself a little bit, and that involvement. Because I remember driving on icy roads one year. I got into a car wreck with this other woman, and that moment of impact, it's very scary. There's a sense of excitement, being the fact that you lived through something.
Yeah.
And I think, especially when this came out in the 90s, I'm pretty sure the whole nature of safe sex was involved. But anytime you did have sex with someone, in the 90s, especially with STDs and all that stuff, you're kind of taking a risk when having sex. And maybe the car crash is maybe kind of the metaphor of that. You're just kind of taking the risk of having something intimate with someone. I don't know. I'm thinking really outside the box there with that, but I know that moment I had with that woman that I had in the car. I mean, it wasn't sex, but it was still kind of a small little intimate thing where both our cars were involved in something that's just not really planned. And maybe that's what attraction is sometimes. You kind of align with someone else there. You're not quite sure how is this person attracted to me.
Yeah, shared experiences, right? No one else has that experience but you two, right? That you were in a situation that no one else can ever say, I understand what happened, or I understand how you felt, or how it was, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
Here's a question for you.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So, do you think, so Holly Hunter's character in this, she knows Vaughn. She knows him, but in my opinion, before Spader and her have the accident. So here's a question for you, and maybe you know this. I'm not sure if you read the book.
I have read the book, but it's been a long time since I read the book.
Okay, so I wonder if the car accident that she had with Spader's character was planned. Her husband wasn't wearing his seatbelt. Right now, I know in the late 90s, but in the late 90s, seatbelts were still required. It was required. So he wasn't wearing his seatbelt. And the fact that she instantly went from I'm in a car crash to showing my nipple, right? It was It made me think through the whole this time of watching, and I was like, wait a minute, maybe that was her living out one of her scenes, and it's never talked about. But it planted that seed in my head this time watching it, because I'm like, okay, well, she knew Vaughn, and so she knew what kind of things he was into and what he did. So maybe, and she was like, when Spader's character got introduced to it, she was already in the group.
See, I always thought that she joined the group just slightly before James did.
Right. So how could she then? How could she join that group? If
Well, I thought she joined the group just after that crash.
Yeah, but I mean, it was pretty like they're both in the hospital sort of together.
Yeah.
They're actually at the hospital together when they're both out, and then he almost he's still,
But Vaughn talks to
how did she get
her first, right? Doesn't Vaughn talk to her first in the hospital before he talks to James? And at that point too, we're thinking that Vaughn is we don't know about him doing the group set stuff or even the car crashes. We just think at that moment that he's working at the hospital.
Yes, yeah, or he's a photographer. He's a crime photographer.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, that's Spader's impression of it. But that's what I mean. Is like how long has she been a part of it? Because you don't know, right? Was it full intent? Have they, I'm thinking deeper conspiracy theory, right? But
do you think that her and her husband was part of this
that's
sex
kind of
group
what
for
I was
a while?
Thinking. Yeah,
and maybe he just wanted to get out of it and was kind of just done and.
Yeah, but no, not that's just it. I think every single person in that group, they want to push themselves to get the big O, right? So even. When Vaughn, that one car crash where Catherine Ballard's character gets out and is walking through the wreckage, and they find out it's their buddy.
Yes.
Right. So that scene, he's like, you bastard, you did it, right? Like he did, he did the Jane Mansfield car crash without him, and it's kind of like. It's like he's kind of jealous. He's jealous that he was able to do it. It's like they're shooting for that big. They want to die in that way, and so maybe Holly Hunter's husband had finally got his big O, right?
Yeah, Jim. That is a very. I just never thought of that before. That is brilliant. Yeah, I don't know if I like thinking that these characters. I know they do, but I don't know if I want to believe that these characters want to die, even though it's plainly right there. In front of my face,
it summates it, right?
That they really just want to try to find the ultimate orgasm, and death is the ultimate orgasm right there, and just because they say that every time you reach orgasm, your soul leaves your body for a little bit, and you're just trying to push yourself out there. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not arguing with that at all.
You're gonna have to digest that a little.
I will have to digest that too, because this is a movie that's very unlike a lot of Cronenberg films, unless you're talking maybe Dead Ringers, and Cosmopolis and.
Dead Ringers is actually my buddy Bryce's favorite Cronenberg film.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he loves that film. That's his jam.
That's his jam, and also maybe I also Native Lunch is another one that.
That one's. It's funny. It's one of my least favorite of his, but it's still a movie. It's kind of one of those things. Like every single one of his movies, in my opinion, everybody has to see once because I think it changes you as a person. But seeing that movie the first time, and it could have been I was in the wrong headspace. I've only seen it once.
Okay.
So I kind of have to go back and watch it because.
I'm gonna reread the book. I'm gonna read the book first before watching it again.
I think that's a good advice.
Because I know I've said, because I mentioned about Native Lunch because everyone said that Native Lunch cannot be adapted into a book, and he did. They said the same thing to the Crash. You can't really adapt Crash into a book, and I think that David Cronenberg did a really great job adapting J.G. Ballard's book, and J.G. Ballard also wrote Empire of the Sun.
Yeah, it's pretty funny, eh?
That movie from Steven Spielberg with the young Christian Bale.
Yeah.
And then he makes this book, and I read the book. It's been several years since I've read the book, but I do remember that both the book and the movie are good versions of themselves. And even J.G. Ballard himself has said that the movie is a much better version of my book.
Yeah, he did. I thought that was funny.
Because I think what David Cronenberg does, because when you have a book, you have like a lot of like internal monologue that the characters say, and you get to know more about them through that. But what Cronenberg does is he just visualizes that.
Oh,
so all the internal monologue, he just goes ahead and visualizes, and it was absolutely a perfect thing, and I loved it for that. Let's talk briefly about Elias Cortez as Vaughn.
The car crash is a fertilizing rather than a destructive event. A liberation of sexual energy, mediating the sexuality of those who have died with an intensity that's impossible in any other form.
Hold on a second. Can we just go back for a second? So,
oh, sure, yeah.
Have you heard anything about whether or not Burroughs saw Cronenberg's Naked Lunch? Because he died, I believe, after that one was made. He would have had the opportunity to see it.
Oh, gosh.
Right? Because interesting to think, because I would have thought the same thing, because I read, I think I had to read Naked Lunch in high school. And so I'm like... Like, I'm curious
I don't
as
know
to
now.
whether or not he actually saw it, right? Like, it'd be interesting to know that, whether or not Burroughs thought this was good.
Well, I do know that, J.G. Ballard was with Cronenberg and cast and crew during the Cannes Film Festival and, Q&A. And it's really kind of fascinating just because it's really kind of funny. All of the actors and producers and directors replies to questions that the press have asked, because I guess when the movie premiered, there were walkouts. Even before the movie was shown, I do know that a lot of like press in the UK and other places were really trying to get this movie banned. And they really thought the movie was offensive to a whole bunch of people. They try to say the movie was offensive to the mentally handicapped. They even try to say the movie was offensive to homosexuals, and each time that the press tried to say something that was wrong about the movie, both the cast and the crew come back like, well, no, and they explain things in a very articulate way, and it was absolutely just brilliant the way that was handled. Because this is a movie with like kind of a difficult subject matter, and if you don't have the author involved and the director involved to calmly explain things, it's going to feel lost. And I feel like it's a perfect thing to watch after you watch the movie, because this is a movie that's not going to really be for everyone. Because, and I don't know if you agree with this too, Jim, but when people watch a lot of movies, they kind of like they try to like almost see things in their own headspace. They don't look past. They try to see things on like an actual storyline level, like an actual plot level, like the basic plot level, without really kind of seeing the. Because when most people watch this movie, they'll be like, "Oh, well, these guys get into a car wreck and they start getting horny around each other," and it's just. I think one critic said this movie, having a movie that has all set scenes, is not a movie. And Cronenberg's saying, well, no, the story is in the set scenes. You just have to like look at it. But most people, when they see sets in movies, that's all they're going to see. They're going to see just the mechanics of sets.
Yeah. Well, and some of them, though, like, half the time when I watch a movie and there's a sex scene, I'm going, why is the sex scene in the movie? Like, are they putting sex scene in there to sort of grasp the, I want to say the teenage boy passion, right? Because hardly ever is it a scene that women are going to watch and go, okay, that was worth that scene, right? Like it's always from a male's viewpoint most times, so it's very rare, unless a female director takes over the project. It's kind of just in there. It's like, why is this made for teenage boys? Whereas, like, I'm really hypercritical of that when I watch a movie and I go, okay, that sex scene was not even important. It's like, it made no sense. Whereas this, it was like, yeah, it's part of the story. It is the story. It's interwoven into the story.
Because we're seeing the growth of these characters through the sexual interactions that they have. Characters when James has sex with the Holly Hunter character, or he gets involved with the Elias Cortez character. Each sequence kind of like, or grows, or even the sequence with him and Rosanna Arquette's character, each sequence kind of grows that person even more. And I know when I listened to the commentary with David Cronenberg, he mentioned about the set scene with James Spader and Elias Cortez, and he said it was this moment that a lot of people walked out of the theater, because most guys, when they watch this movie, they are putting themselves in the James Spader's character, and when he starts having sex with Vaughn, they're like, "Oh no, I can't handle that. I mean, I can handle him going with the Holly Hunter character and whatnot, but you put him with another man, no, I just they just get really uncomfortable, and their girlfriends want to stay and watch." But everything was just kind of done, and I can see the progression. He's tried it with these other girls in cars, and thinking, Vaughn's very much a strong guy, and there's that sequence where both Deborah Kerr Under's character and James Spader's character, they're describing having sex with the same guy.
Yeah. Well, and I guess maybe my vision of it isn't like, I didn't look at it as saying that Spader's character, like, it was so fluid the way it happened. It's kind of like, keeping in mind this movie came out before a significant amount of discussion around people's sexual orientation, right? And where things are at. So that, again, Cronenberg's ahead of society in putting things out there that the sex part was not man woman, the sex part wasn't man. Like, obviously you think that Spader's character is heterosexual, but it's the sex part in it is not necessarily the actual sex between a man and a man. It's just, it's part of the evolution of his character, that it's like, it's kind of like, it doesn't matter that it does matter that it's Vaughn, but it doesn't matter that it's a man on man. It's just because they're both in a shared experience, sharing that moment, and were able to go through that. They became so intertwined into the whole scene that it just becomes so natural. Like, to me, it was like, okay, this is a beautiful scene. Like, and
that happens after he has sex, or after Vaughn has sex with Catherine, and James is watching it, and James is thinking, well, my wife has been involved with this other man. I want to know what that involvement is like a little bit. I want to be closer to my wife because of that a little bit. And like you mentioned before, the gender of the person doesn't seem to really matter.
No.
To this
I don't think it's irrelevant. It's really irrelevant to the entire story. It's kind of like, we can go backwards in time where we talk. I'm sure it was intentional for Cronenberg to push boundaries, but again, when you hear interviews with Romero specifically about putting a black lead in Night of the Living Dead, right? It's like, well, he was the best actor. It's like, no, this was the character that had to have sex with him, so it just happens to be man on man, whatever. It's irrelevant, really. It had to happen. So, to your point, I also agree. I think, again, back to my point about these two lovers who are married, is that they want to continually bring things back into their relationship as a shared experience. So it was eventually going to happen. If it hadn't happened already, then it was going to happen.
Yeah, that's true. All right. I think you mentioned, do you have like just one favorite moment of this movie? The moment that you really, if you got to show like one sequence of this movie and be like, all right, this is Crash, to someone who doesn't really understand Crash, what would you show them?
Wow, that's really tough, because I think there was really powerful scenes throughout. I think the the car wash scene is definitely one because of, but then it's not necessarily reminiscent necessarily of Crash. I think if I had to say, that would definitely the car crash scene was up, or the actual car wash scene is up there. But I would have to say the scene with Roseanne Arquette and James Spader at the car.
Oh, the car dealer
place. Car
yes.
dealer scene.
Yes.
The scene with Arquette getting in and out of that car is probably to me the scene that sort of depicts this movie. Yet there's no actual physical sex happening, but the actual sexual tension and power that happens in that scene where she tears the leather on the seat is just and they're oblivious to the wreckage that they're causing for this guy who works in a car dealership is to me
the moment when she bends over that car and says this excites me is like like one gif I would show people. They're like, what's Crash about? I want to show them just that one image of Roseanne Arquette bending over a car, hugging it, and saying, "This excites me."
Yes, that exactly. Like it's
like that's it. That's all you need to know. If this movie entreats you to watch it, this sequence entreats you to watch it, then watch it. That and the other sequence, but this sequence I can't really post this on any social media because I'll get banned. Is the cum covered hands?
Yeah,
on the car seats.
Yeah, that's a pretty good scene too.
Those are like my two moments right there, like the two images in my head that will always come to my mind. And like I said before, this is a movie that when you watch it each time, you're going to get a different type of experience with it, which I love the most about Cronenberg's films, and that's the reason why I need to rewatch Dead Rainers again, because that's the movie I wasn't too fond of the first time I watched it. But and same thing too with Nathan Lunch. Nathan Lunch I had to watch it a couple of times before I appreciated that, and I'm so glad I own the Criterion version of Crash, because this is a movie that I will watch again and show other people this, just because I want to see what their reactions are to this, because their reaction the first time watching it will be like mine, where like, didn't quite understand it, but it was cool to look at. And then as I watch it again, you get more into the character's headspace and everything. And now after talking to you about this movie, Jim, especially when you said about the end, these characters trying to reach, their ultimate death and reach their ultimate orgasm, that's not something I really picked up so much.
Yeah, it's funny when you say this is a movie you can't necessarily show to everybody.
Yeah.
Well, no, but it's like in my opinion, these are the films that I want everybody to watch, because I again, back to my earlier comment, I like to stretch people's viewpoint. I go to see movies for growing as a person. Like, it's very rare that I go to a cinema. I'd say 95%. The movies I choose to see are 100% based on me growing as a person, as a better person, or expanding me. The other 5% is the genre type of films that I like, that I'm going there to be entertained. So it's very rare that I go to the cinemas to be entertained. I'm mostly going there to for selfish reasons, to become a better person and expand my my knowledge and just grow as a person. So yeah, this is one of those films that, if people come out of it and they go, this is the most disgusting film I've ever seen, I'm like, well, maybe we need to move you to a lesser version of a movie like this. May be further past, like perhaps people have to evolve. Do you know what I mean? Like, how did you and I get to this point for us where this movie we're so passionate about? Well, if we came out, okay, imagine this as a young boy, we went from watching, say, Pinocchio, Walt Disney's Pinocchio, and then the next movie we watched was David Cronenberg's Crash.
Oh, sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
People's film passion and tastes have to evolve. But if people continually just choose to be entertained, I mean, I'm not criticizing them, because people deserve to have whatever they want. Like, I believe, love what you want, and if this movie is gonna make people hate things because they can't understand or can't, but to me that makes them a closed individual person. But I see a lot of people that just choose films to be entertained, and they go to see films to maybe to your point earlier, to put themselves in a position where they are seeing themselves in the character. Like, I want the people that picked Top Gun Maverick as their favorite film this year to watch something like Crash, to go, because they see the movie Top Gun Maverick and they see, I wish I was Tom Cruise and I could drive an air jet. And this is why I'm thinking that they're thinking.
Oh, sure.
Whereas,
I would imagine someone watches, Top Gun, to have them watch, Eyes Wide Shut and see a different version of Tom Cruise, maybe.
yeah, exactly.
So.
Or, yeah, you know what I mean? But for me, I thought Top Gun Maverick was my actual worst movie I saw last year, because I thought it was terrible. Like, everything, single thing about it was terrible for me. But
agree, disagree on that, but that's for another time. But I do know we're coming close to the end of this conversation we're having on Crash, just because I have nothing else to really say about it. But I just want to get from you, Jim, what would you grade this film out of, like, let's say, out of 5 Rosanna Arquette's, I guess, laid braces?
Well, it would definitely get 5 out of 5 Rosanna Arquette leg braces for sure.
Nice.
100%.
And then give us, like, your last, like, thoughts about this movie for our audience.
I would say with most Cronenberg films, I would say that when you go to a Cronenberg film, go there knowing that you're going to be a different person when you leave the cinema. And this one is definitely one of those ones.
Yes, 100%. I'm going with 5 leg braces as well. This is a movie that will indeed challenge you, more than maybe a lot of the films do. And I think films that are called controversial are done so because they maybe challenge the way you think. I just recently rewatched Possession with Sam Neill, and that's a movie, if you've never seen it before, Jim, that is a movie that's also very kind of challenging as well, and it's brilliantly acted, even though some people may say it's over the top. Crash kind of feels like the same way, but Crash's performance of everyone kind of being somewhat stilted may turn people off a little bit, but I still think it's a good movie to watch, good movie for couples or by yourself, and it's fun to see a movie that just takes chances, and it's bold, and it's daring, and it's new. So yes, thank you again, Jim, for coming on here. Before we do go, is there anything coming up on the Film Rage podcast that you want to promote?
Nothing new. Usually we're always seeing new releases that come to cinema and festivals that we're involved with. So there's a movie that we had just recently viewed, which we're going to be reviewing on our upcoming podcast. So depending on when this episode comes out,
well, I'll let you know. This will premiere to our Patreon users most likely next week, and then it probably won't be available for regular listeners for about maybe 2 to 3 weeks later.
Okay, so when people hear this, we have, at that point, we will have reviewed a movie called Skinamarink, which is...
Skinamarink-a-dink, I love you.
That's exactly what it is, except it's nothing like that.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
It's again, one of those movies that it will change you as a person after seeing it.
Ooh.
That's all I would say.
Okay,
yeah, so,
I like that.
And it's I'm not sure if it's having a major release. It's coming on Shudder.
Oh, okay.
It's
oh, well, there you have me. Yeah, Shudder is also where I saw Possession. So
yeah, well, it was where I saw Possession for the second time, because I
Nice.
saw it first in cinemas. But the movie was made for $15,000, and it kind of feels that way. But it's if you get a chance, go online, look at the trailer for Skinamarink, and we were lucky enough to see it with Calgary Underground Film Fest in the cinemas. And a packed house, and it's like you could literally hear a pin drop through the entire movie. Not one person made a sound. Not one person made a sound this entire movie.
No, that sounds pretty awesome, man. But Jim, thank you ever so much, man, for being here.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. I'm always happy to come back and enjoy some Cinema Recall podcasts.
You will come back again?
Oh, yeah, man. I'll come back.
All right, man. All right. Well, and hopefully maybe one of these days I can maybe come onto the Film Rage podcast and rage out with you guys.
Yeah, dude. It's usually tough to find people who will do everything we ask of them when we have an episode, but I have a feeling that you could probably do it because of the level of film love that you have. So, yeah, absolutely. We'll have you on, buddy.
All right, man. Well, again, thank you very much, buddy, and have a good day, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.